The council chamber floated in the darkness of space, a massive ring of metal and light orbiting the dead planet that once housed the first civilization to reach the stars. Inside the Grand Hall, representatives from 43 species gathered under the eternal glow of artificial suns. Today the light felt cold. High Counselor Vexthar stood at the center podium, his scaled skin reflecting the harsh illumination. His three eyes scanned the assembled delegates, noting the fear in their postures. The Krell Dominion had struck again. Another world had fallen. Another million lives lost or enslaved. We must face the truth, Vexthar said, his voice carrying through the chamber without electronic aid. Our peacekeeping forces are not enough. The Krell have revealed our weakness. For 12,000 years we maintained peace through words and small defensive fleets. Those days are over. Ambassador Una Park sat in the human delegation section, her face calm despite the tension. She had expected this moment. Earth had been part of the Galactic Council for only 15 years, barely a heartbeat in galactic time. Most species still saw humans as newcomers, interesting but unremarkable. They had no idea what was coming. Commander Talwins, the avian military strategist, spread his wings in a gesture of frustration. We have asked every member species for military support. Most have promised small contingents. A few hundred soldiers here, a dozen ships there. It will not be enough. The Krell outnumber us 3-1. What about the humans? Someone asked from the back of the chamber. They have been quiet throughout this crisis. All eyes turned to the human section. Captain Minho Kim stood up, his military uniform simple compared to the elaborate clothing worn by other delegates. He was young by galactic standards, only 40 Earth years, with calm eyes that had seen things most council members could not imagine. Earth will help, Minho said simply. The chamber erupted in surprised murmurs. Vexthar's center eye focused intently on the human captain. You speak with authority? Your government has agreed? They will agree, Una interjected, standing beside Minho. But we have one condition. Before we commit our forces, the council must observe a full demonstration of human military capability. You need to understand what you are asking for. Commander Talwins tilted his head, confused. A demonstration? Like a parade? We do not have time for ceremonies, Ambassador. The Krell will attack again within weeks. Minho smiled, though there was no humor in it. Not a parade, Commander. A full combat exercise. You want to see what a human army looks like. We will show you. But you must witness it with your own eyes. Send your military observers to our colony on Kepler 442b, 3 days from now. Vexthar considered this. 3 days was nothing in the timeline of galactic diplomacy. If it meant securing human support, it was worth the delay. Very well. I will lead the observation delegation myself. But I warn you, Ambassador Park, if this is a delay tactic, the Council will not forget. Una met his gaze without flinching. Come and see, High Counselor. Then you can decide if you still want our help. The council session ended and delegates filed out in clusters, whispering among themselves. The general consensus was clear. Humans were being presumptuous. What could a species barely a century into space travel show that the ancient races had not seen before? Weapons? Every species had weapons. Soldiers? Every species could train fighters. The humans were young and naive, trying to make themselves seem important. Only Kelmora, the insectoid philosopher who represented the pacifist collective, seemed troubled. She approached Minho as he prepared to leave. Captain, I have studied your species since first contact. Your history is unusual. I fear what you might show us. Minho looked at her with something like sympathy. You should fear, Counselor. But not us. Fear what made us necessary. That night in his quarters aboard the station, Minho composed a message to Earth Strategic Command. His fingers moved quickly over the holographic interface, typing words that would set events in motion that could not be stopped. Authorization granted for full spectrum demonstration. Operation Revelation is approved. Let them see what we really are. He paused before sending it, knowing what would happen next. Earth had kept its true military strength hidden, deliberately downplaying its capabilities to avoid frightening the other council members. Humans had seemed peaceful, diplomatic, even soft. It was all carefully calculated misdirection. The truth was different. Earth had not spent the last 15 years simply exploring and trading. They had been preparing. Every human colony had defensive installations. Every merchant ship had combat retrofits. Every civilian with proper training was registered in reserve forces. Humanity had learned long ago that the universe was not kind to the unprepared. The message sent, Minho walked to the viewing port and stared out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Krell were celebrating their victories, believing the Council was weak and divided. They had no idea what was about to hit them. His communicator chimed. It was General Hyun Choi, commander of the 3rd Expeditionary Force stationed on Kepler 442b. The general's weathered face appeared on the screen, and she was smiling. I received your message, Captain. We have 3 days to prepare. I assume you want the full show? Everything, General. Combined arms, special operations, naval power, orbital strikes. I want them to understand that we are not like the other species. I want them to see 10,000 years of human warfare condensed into one demonstration. Hyun's smile faded slightly. Some of them will be frightened, Minho. They might refuse our help after seeing what we can do. Then they deserve to fall to the Krell, Minho said coldly. But they won't refuse. They are desperate, and after they see what we can do to help them, they will also understand what we could do against them. Fear and gratitude make strong foundations for peace. You sound like a politician. I learned from Ambassador Park. She says the best diplomacy happens when everyone understands the stakes. General Hyun nodded. 3 days. We will be ready. Kepler 442b has 50,000 troops currently stationed for rotation training. I will make sure every unit is prepared to perform. This will not be a show, Captain. This will be a lesson. After the call ended, Minho remained at the viewport for a long time. He thought about the council members safely insulated in their station, playing at politics while people died. He thought about the Krell, brutal and confident in their strength. And he thought about humanity, always underestimated, always overlooked. That was about to change. In 3 days, the Galactic Council would learn what every human already knew. Peace was not the natural state of the universe. Peace was what you built when you were strong enough to defend it. And humanity had been building that strength for a very, very long time. The Council wanted to see a human army. They would get their wish. And they would never look at Earth the same way again. The Council observers did not sleep well after witnessing the Thunder Valley exercise. They had seen enough to frighten them, but General Hyun insisted the demonstration was not complete. The second day would reveal the true depth of human military capability. High Counselor Vexthar arrived at the briefing room early, finding Captain Minho already reviewing holographic displays. I must ask, Captain, is all this truly necessary? We have seen your conventional forces. They are impressive, terrifying even. Surely that is enough. Minho looked up, his expression serious. Yesterday you saw how we fight when we want everyone to know we are coming. Today you will see how we fight when we do not want to be seen at all. You will see how we fight without soldiers, without bullets, sometimes without the enemy even knowing they are in a war. If you truly want human help against the Krell, you need to understand all our capabilities. The morning began at the Special Operations Training Facility, where Lieutenant Jiwon Lee waited with her 12-person team. They looked nothing like the soldiers from yesterday. No heavy armor, no obvious weapons, just compact gear and calm faces. Special Operations Forces, Jiwon explained. We handle missions that conventional armies cannot. Hostage rescue, deep reconnaissance, sabotage, assassination, training resistance forces, operating behind enemy lines for months without support. Commander Talwins studied the small team. Only 12 soldiers? What can so few accomplish? Watch, Jiwon said simply. The team demonstrated a hostage rescue scenario, simulated enemies held captives in a building complex protected by sensors, guards, and defensive positions. Jiwon's team infiltrated through approach routes the council members did not even realize existed. They moved like ghosts using darkness and distraction. Within 8 minutes, they had eliminated all simulated guards, extracted the hostages, and vanished before reinforcements arrived. How did they get past the sensors? Kellamora asked, reviewing the recording. We did not get past them, Jiwon explained. We fed them false data. The sensors saw what we wanted them to see. Technology is only as good as the people interpreting it. Sergeant Junho Bae demonstrated long-range reconnaissance, showing how human scouts could survive in hostile territory for weeks, gathering intelligence while avoiding detection. We once had a team observe an enemy installation for 43 days, Junho said. The enemy never knew they were being watched. By the time we attacked, we knew their routines better than they did. The council observers were deeply unsettled. Their concept of warfare involved armies meeting in obvious combat. The idea of invisible soldiers conducting invisible operations challenged their entire understanding. But the afternoon demonstration shook them even more. Commander Seok Kang met them at the orbital shipyards. Behind him, visible through the massive viewports, floated the human fleet stationed at Kepler 442b. 200 warships of various sizes, from small corvettes to massive dreadnoughts. 200 ships, Vexthar said quietly. The Council's entire peacekeeping fleet is 43 vessels. This is only the third fleet, Seok replied. Earth maintains 7 full fleets of similar size plus reserve vessels. Our industrial capacity can produce 3 new ships per week when fully mobilized. He proceeded to explain human naval doctrine, which was completely foreign to the Council species. While they built individual powerful ships, humans built numerous coordinated vessels, carrier groups, destroyer squadrons, submarine-equivalent stealth vessels, supply chains, mobile repair facilities, all working together. A single ship can be destroyed, Seok explained. A fleet is redundant, adaptable, and overwhelming. We learned naval warfare on Earth's oceans thousands of years ago. Space is just another ocean to us. The demonstration showed coordinated fleet maneuvers that would take the Council decades to master. Ships moved in perfect formation, covering each other's weak points, concentrating fire, executing complex tactical patterns. It was beautiful and terrifying. Then Seok showed them the submarines. Stealth vessels that could hide in sensor shadows, approach targets undetected and strike without warning. The enemy never sees them coming, Seok said. In our war games, stealth vessels sink 3 times their tonnage before being detected. Commander Talwins felt a chill. You have thought of everything. Yes, Seok agreed. Because thinking of everything is how you survive. But the most disturbing demonstration came last. Dr. Hana Yoon, a military psychologist and strategist, presented what she called information warfare. War is not just physical, Hana explained to the confused observers. War is also mental, digital, and social. You can destroy an enemy without firing a shot if you control what they know, what they believe, and how they communicate. She demonstrated cyber warfare, showing how human specialists could infiltrate enemy computer systems, steal data, plant false information, or shut down critical infrastructure. During exercises against our own systems, our cyber teams took control of an entire military base, without anyone noticing for 6 hours. Then she showed psychological operations. Propaganda, misinformation, demoralization tactics exploiting enemy fears and divisions. Make the enemy doubt themselves, doubt their leaders, doubt their cause. A confused enemy makes mistakes. A demoralized enemy surrenders without fighting. Kelmora was horrified. This is not honorable combat. This is manipulation and lies. War is not honorable, Hana said bluntly. War is about winning. The soldiers who die in honorable combat are still dead. We prefer to win without killing when possible. Is that not more moral than unnecessary bloodshed? The final briefing came from General Hyun herself, who presented strategic documents that made the observers' heads spin. Reserve mobilization plans, industrial conversion schedules, resource allocation models, population distribution for total war scenarios, contingency plans for conflicts that might never happen, including detailed strategies for fighting each individual council species. You have war plans against us? Vexthar asked, shocked. We have war plans against everyone, Hyun confirmed without apology. It is not because we want to fight you. It is because preparation prevents war. If we know how to defeat you, we also know how to defend against you, how to negotiate with you, how to understand your strategic thinking. Knowledge prevents misunderstandings that lead to conflict. Trilixon, the energy-based observer who had been silent most of the day, finally spoke. I begin to understand something terrible. Your entire civilization is structured around the capacity for war. Not just your military, but your industry, your education, your government, everything. You are not a species with a military. You are a military species that happens to have civilians. Minho shook his head. No, counselor. We are a species that learned the cost of being unprepared. Every human knows basic emergency procedures. Every factory can be converted to war production. Every citizen understands that our survival depends on our strength. But we do not want war. We want peace. The difference is we understand that peace requires the ability to fight. That evening, as the observers prepared to return to the council station, alarms blared throughout the facility. Everyone froze as an urgent message played over the communication systems. The Krell Dominion had attacked the colony world of Tarsus Prime. 3 million council citizens were now under Krell occupation. The council fleet had attempted a rescue and been destroyed. Casualties were catastrophic. Vexthar's scales paled. Tarsus Prime was a core world close to the council heartland. If it could fall, nowhere was safe. Ambassador Una Park appeared on the communication screen, her face grave. High Counselor, the Council is formally requesting Earth's military intervention. General Hyun is prepared to deploy immediately. Do we have authorization? Vexthar looked at his fellow observers. He saw fear in their eyes, but also desperate hope. They had spent 2 days being terrified of human capabilities. Now they needed those capabilities to save their people. You have authorization, Vexthar said. Please help us. General Hyun was already moving, barking orders to her staff. Alert all fleet commanders. We deploy in 6 hours. Combat load, full ammunition, maximum readiness. This is not an exercise. This is war. As the facility transformed into organized chaos with thousands of soldiers preparing for deployment, Minho stood beside Vexthar at the viewport. You are frightened of us, Minho said quietly. That is good. Fear breeds respect. But remember what you are about to see. The violence we unleash on the Krell, we do so to protect the innocent. That is what makes us different from them. We are not warriors who enjoy killing. We are guardians who happen to be extremely good at it. Vexthar watched the ships powering up, saw soldiers boarding transports, observed the machinery of human warfare preparing for action. I pray you are right, Captain. I pray that humanity uses its terrible strength wisely. So do we, Minho said. Every single day. The human fleet departed Kepler 442b 18 hours later, carrying 50,000 soldiers toward Tarsus Prime. The council observers went with them. They would witness war as humans practiced it. And they would never forget what they saw. The human fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Tarsus Prime system, and Admiral Soo-Hyun Lim immediately began issuing orders. Her flagship, the dreadnought Soul's Hammer, was a city in space bristling with weapons and carrying 5,000 personnel. Around her, 46 other warships took formation with mechanical precision. On the observation deck, High Counselor Vexthar and his fellow observers watched the tactical displays with mounting tension. The Krell occupation force was substantial. 28 warships, including 3 heavy cruisers. On the planet below, 12,000 Krell soldiers held the major cities and 3 million council citizens hostage. They outnumber your fleet, Commander Talwins noted. His feathers pressed flat with anxiety, and they have fortified positions on the ground. Admiral Soo-Hyun glanced at him, her expression unreadable. Numbers matter less than you think, Commander. Watch and learn. The first phase of the battle happened in complete silence, in the digital realm that the council observers could barely comprehend. Human cyber warfare specialists launched attacks on Krell systems before the first shot was fired. Within minutes, they had infiltrated enemy communications, sensor networks, and targeting computers. Their sensors are now feeding them false data, explained Lieutenant Daeho Min, the cyber warfare coordinator. They think we are where we are not. They think they have more time than they do, and their ships cannot talk to each other properly anymore. They are blind, deaf, and confused. Then the violence began. The human fleet attacked from 3 vectors simultaneously, using disabled council orbital platforms as cover. The Krell had positioned those platforms as obstacles, never imagining an enemy would use them strategically. Human ships emerged from behind the wreckage, weapons already firing. The opening barrage lasted 12 minutes and destroyed 14 Krell vessels. The coordination was perfect. Each human ship knew its target, its firing solution, and its fallback position. There was no confusion, no hesitation, just overwhelming firepower applied with surgical precision. Warlord Grakthur, commanding the Krell forces, immediately tried to regroup his remaining ships. But his communications were compromised, his sensors were lying to him, and the humans gave him no time to recover. They pressed their advantage ruthlessly. This is human naval doctrine, Admiral Soo-Hyun explained calmly while directing the battle. Hit hard, hit fast, never let the enemy recover. Exploit every advantage. Maintain pressure. Break their cohesion and destroy them piece by piece. Pilot Jamin. O led a squadron of strike fighters that hunted down fleeing Krell vessels. His team moved like a wolf pack, isolating targets and overwhelming them with coordinated attacks. "Prey running," Jamin reported over the comm. "We are in pursuit." Kelmora watched in horror as a Krell destroyer tried to escape, only to be caught between two human corvettes and a fighter squadron. The enemy ship's shields failed under concentrated fire, and then it simply ceased to exist in a brief flash of light. "They are not even trying to capture vessels," she whispered. "Just destroying them." "Time is more valuable than salvage," Minho explained. He had joined the observers to provide context. Every minute the Krell maintain orbital presence is a minute they can threaten the ground forces or escape with hostages. Speed matters more than efficiency. The space battle ended in 4 hours. 28 Krell ships had become wreckage or were captured by boarding teams. The human fleet had lost 2 corvettes and taken damage to 6 other vessels. Admiral Suhyun was already directing repair operations while preparing for the ground campaign. "Orbital superiority established," she reported to General Hyun, who commanded the ground forces. "The planet is yours, General. Good hunting." Colonel Taewon Park led the ground assault, and his approach was methodical and merciless. While the Council observers had expected an immediate attack, the humans spent 6 hours preparing. Reconnaissance drones mapped every Krell position. Special Forces teams infiltrated key locations. Cyber specialists identified communication nodes and power grids. Psychological operations teams began broadcasting surrender terms in Krell language. "Why wait?" Vexthar asked. "You have orbital superiority. You could bombard their positions." "And kill how many civilians?" Taewon replied. "No. We extract maximum intelligence, minimize collateral damage, and give the enemy opportunities to surrender. Those who refuse will be eliminated with precision." The Krell, accustomed to species who paused combat to negotiate, were utterly unprepared for what came next. Human special forces struck first, eliminating Krell command posts in simultaneous raids across 3 continents. Communications went dark. Supply lines were severed. Power grids failed. Warlord Grakther, trapped in his fortified command center, tried to reassert control. He executed civilian hostages and broadcast the killings, demanding the humans withdraw or more would die. It was standard Krell intimidation tactics, and it had always worked against Council species. It did not work against humans. Colonel Taewon's response was immediate and brutal. "All special operations teams' priority target is now Warlord Grakther's location." Authorization for extreme prejudice granted. Lieutenant Jawan Lee's team was closest. They were already inside the city, having infiltrated 3 days earlier as part of the initial reconnaissance. Now they moved toward the command center with cold efficiency. The Council observers watched through Jiwon's helmet camera as her team approached the fortified building. Guards were everywhere. Defenses were strong. It looked impossible. "Initiating breach," Jiwon reported calmly. Her team used explosives to blow through an underground maintenance tunnel the Krell did not even know existed. They emerged inside the facility's lower levels and fought their way up. The combat was close, fast, and vicious. Human soldiers moved through corridors with practiced precision, eliminating enemies before they could respond. Within 30 minutes, Jiwon's team reached the command center. They used breaching charges to blow the doors, flash grenades to disorient defenders, and systematic fire to neutralize everyone inside. Warlord Grakther died trying to reach his weapon. His entire command staff died with him. "Target eliminated," Jiwon reported. "Extracting captured intelligence now." The effect on Krell forces was immediate. Without leadership, without communications, without hope of reinforcement, many began surrendering. Others tried to fight and were systematically eliminated by human forces that had prepared for exactly this scenario. Colonel Taewon's main forces entered the cities only after special operations. Teams had softened resistance. They advanced with overwhelming firepower but careful aim, clearing buildings while minimizing civilian casualties. Medical teams followed close behind, treating wounded civilians and Krell prisoners alike. The observers watched footage of human soldiers pulling Krell wounded from rubble and providing medical care. "Why treat enemy wounded?" Talwins asked, confused. "Because they are defeated," explained Dr. Hana Yoon, who monitored the psychological aspects of the operation. "Injured prisoners are not threats. They are proof we follow rules even in war. Their own forces abandoned them, but we saved them." That message spreads faster than any propaganda. The ground campaign lasted 36 hours. Krell forces either surrendered or were eliminated. Not a single Krell soldier escaped the planet. Human casualties were 217 dead, 432 wounded. Civilian casualties were kept under 3,000, remarkably low considering the scale of combat in urban areas. On the observation deck of Sol's Hammer, the Council observers sat in stunned silence as they reviewed the battle reports. Everything had happened so fast. The overwhelming Krell force had been crushed in less than 2 days. This was not even difficult for you, Vexthar said quietly. You were efficient, professional, almost routine. Admiral Suhyun nodded. This was a standard military operation, High Counselor. We trained for this. We planned for this. We executed what we practiced. That is what makes us effective. And terrifying, Kelmora added. You fight wars like we conduct business, with planning, efficiency, and emotional distance. Minho joined them, watching the planet below where human soldiers were now helping civilians return to their homes. You wanted to see what a human army looks like. This is what we are. We prepare, we execute, we win. But note what happens after the fighting stops. We rebuild, we heal. We leave the planet better than we found it. Over the next week, human forces not only secured Tarsus Prime, but began reconstruction efforts. Engineers repaired infrastructure. Medical teams established clinics. Diplomats worked with local governments to restore order. It was conquest and charity combined, victory and compassion in equal measure. News of the liberation spread throughout Council space. Other Krell-occupied worlds learned what had happened. The Krell Dominion, facing an enemy they could not understand or defeat, began withdrawing from Council territory. 3 weeks after Tarsus Prime, the Krell leadership requested negotiations. They sued for peace, offering to return all conquered territory and pay reparations. The Council chamber looked the same as it had months ago, but everything had changed. The same delegates sat in their same positions under the same artificial suns. But the atmosphere was completely different. Fear and gratitude mixed uneasily in the air. High Counselor Vexthar called the session to order, his voice carrying the weight of recent events. We gather today to discuss the new reality of our galaxy. The Krell threat has ended. All occupied worlds have been liberated. Our people are safe. This is due entirely to human military intervention. Polite applause rippled through the chamber, but it was strained. Everyone had seen the combat footage. Everyone knew what humans were capable of now. The grateful applause could not hide the underlying anxiety. Ambassador Yuna Park stood in the human delegation section, her face calm as always. Beside her, Captain Minho Kim maintained his military posture, watching the council members with careful attention. The question before us, Vexthar continued, is what comes next. The Krell revealed our weakness. Humans revealed their strength. We must determine how to coexist in this new reality. Commander Talwyn spoke first. I propose we establish formal military treaties with Earth. Their forces proved superior in every engagement. We should formalize their role as our primary defense force. Absolutely not. The objection came from Counselor Kelmora, her insectoid body rigid with agitation. We cannot give one species military dominance over the entire council. That is a recipe for tyranny. Today they protect us. Tomorrow they might conquer us. Murmurs of agreement spread through portions of the chamber. The fear that had been lurking beneath the surface was emerging into open discussion. Trilixon, the energy-based philosopher, glowed with unusual intensity as he spoke. I have studied human history extensively since witnessing their military capabilities. Their record is troubling. Humans have fought thousands of wars among themselves. They have built and used weapons that could destroy their entire planet. They have committed atrocities in the name of survival and victory. How can we trust such a species with our safety? Ambassador Yuna listened to the criticism without visible emotion, but Minho noticed her jaw tighten slightly. When the complaints quieted, she stood to address the council. Everything Counselor Trilaxon said is true, Yuna began, surprising everyone. Humans have fought terrible wars. We have developed horrible weapons. We have done awful things to each other and to our own world. We do not deny our history. We learn from it. She gestured to the holographic display at the chamber's center, which showed images of human history. Warfare, destruction, suffering, but also rebuilding, innovation, and eventual peace. Yes, we fought thousands of wars. Do you know what we learned? That war is expensive, wasteful, and solves nothing permanent. Yes, we built planet-destroying weapons. Do you know what we learned? That such weapons make everyone less safe, not more. Yes, we committed atrocities. Do you know what we learned? That cruelty breeds more cruelty, and only justice creates lasting peace. The chamber was silent as Yuna continued. You fear our military strength. That is wise. You should fear it. But you should also understand why we developed it. Earth had no unified government until recently. We had hundreds of nations competing for resources, territory, and survival. Those who were weak were conquered. Those who were unprepared were destroyed. The humans who survived were those who learned to fight better than anyone else. She paused, letting her words sink in. But note what happened when we finally achieved global unity. We stopped fighting each other. We directed our strength outward, toward exploration and protection. The weapons we made to fight each other, we now use to defend our friends. That is the lesson of human history. Strength without wisdom leads to destruction, but strength with wisdom creates peace. General Hyun Choi appeared via holographic transmission from Earth's Strategic Command. Her presence added weight to the discussion. The Council is afraid we will become conquerors. I understand that fear. Let me be very clear about Earth's position. We do not want to rule the galaxy. We do not want military dominance. We do not want to be your overlords. Then what do you want? Vexthar asked. We want the same thing everyone wants, Hyun replied. Security for our people, prosperity for our worlds, and peace with our neighbors. The difference is we understand that wanting peace is not enough. You must be capable of defending peace. The Council lived in comfortable ignorance for thousands of years, believing that diplomacy alone could maintain order. The Krell proved you wrong. They attacked because you were weak, not because you were provocative. Counselor Kelmora shifted uncomfortably. So you propose we become warriors like you? Abandon our peaceful values and embrace militarism? No, said a new voice. Everyone turned to see Captain Minho stepping forward. General Hyun proposes that you understand the difference between peaceful and helpless. You can maintain your values, your culture, your way of life, but you must also maintain the capacity to defend them. That is what we offer to teach you. He activated his own datapad, and new images appeared on the chamber display. Earth offers the following to the Galactic Council. First, we will help establish defensive military forces for every member species that requests assistance. Not conquest forces, not invasion forces, defensive forces. Second, we will train council officers in modern military doctrine, tactics, and strategy. Third, we will help develop joint command structures that give every species a voice in collective defense. And in return? Talwins asked suspiciously. In return, we ask for nothing except what we already have. Council membership, trade rights, diplomatic recognition. We do not want tribute. We do not want territory. We do not want subordinate species. We want partners who can defend themselves so that we are not the only ones carrying the burden of security. Ambassador Yuna added, some of you fear that we will create a galaxy of warriors. But consider the alternative. The Krell were not the only aggressive species in the universe. There will be others. If the Council remains weak, you invite more attacks. If you develop reasonable defensive capabilities, you deter aggression. That is not warmongering, that is survival. The debate continued for hours. Some council members supported the human proposal. Others resisted, clinging to old beliefs about pacifism and diplomacy. But slowly pragmatism won over idealism. The Krell invasion had taught a harsh lesson that could not be ignored. Finally, High Counselor Vexthar called for a vote. The proposal was approved by a significant majority. The Galactic Council would establish a new collective security framework, with human assistance but not human dominance. Later that evening, Vexthar met privately with Captain Minho in one of the station's observation lounges. They stood together, watching the stars in comfortable silence. I confess something to you, Captain, Vexthar said eventually. I am still frightened of your species, not because I think you are evil, but because you are so capable of violence. It is like befriending a predator. Even if it is tame, you never forget what it could do. Minho nodded. That is a fair assessment. Humans are predators, High Counselor. We evolved as hunters. We carry that legacy in our genes and our culture. But we are also more than that. We are builders, teachers, artists, and dreamers. The violence is just one tool in our collection, and we try very hard to use it only when necessary. And if you decide that conquest is necessary, if humanity's interests conflict with the Council's interests, then we negotiate like civilized beings, Minho replied. Violence is expensive and destructive. We learned that lesson well. War costs lives, resources, and progress. We prefer trade to conquest, diplomacy to warfare, cooperation to competition, not because we are weak, but because we are wise enough to know that everyone loses in war, even the victors. Vexthar was quiet for a moment. You said earlier that Earth wants partners who can defend themselves. Why? If the Council remained weak, you would be essential. You would have tremendous leverage and influence. True, Minho agreed. But leverage based on others' weakness is unstable. It breeds resentment and eventually rebellion. We prefer partnerships based on mutual strength and respect. Besides, defending the entire galaxy alone would exhaust even humanity. Better to have capable allies who share the burden. I think I begin to understand your species, Vexthar said slowly. You prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. You develop terrible weapons but hesitate to use them. You are warriors who desire peace. You are contradictions that somehow make sense. Minho smiled. We are survivors, High Counselor. We learn to adapt, to prepare, to fight when necessary and negotiate when possible. That flexibility is our true strength, not just our military power. 5 years passed. The Galactic Council transformed under human guidance. Most member species developed modest defensive forces, nothing approaching human levels but sufficient to discourage aggression. Joint military academies trained officers from dozens of species in modern tactics. Council peacekeeping forces became actual military units with real capabilities. And when a new threat emerged from unexplored space, when hostile aliens attacked Council territory, the response was swift and coordinated. The Council fleet, now properly trained and equipped, responded with confidence.